The New Mexico Philharmonic returns this weekend with their first concert of 2026, featuring works of Beethoven and Schumann, and featuring the New Mexico Philharmonic's own horn section. And I have Second Horn Allison Tutton in the studio with me to talk about it today. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
The NM Phil horn section is featured on a really unique work, Schumann's Concertstück for four horns and orchestra. This was a pretty groundbreaking idea in the mid-19th century to feature horns this way.
Yes, and especially to feature four brass soloists at the same time had not really been done at this point.
So what was it? There were some developments in the horn around this time. Is that why he decided to take advantage of this voice?
I think so. The invention of the valve occurred in the 1820s, and it didn't really get adopted very quickly. So it's likely that Robert Schumann had first heard or seen valve horns in the 1840s sometime. He wrote a short work for horn and piano in 1849 called Adagio and Allegro, which uses chromatic passages that had not really been possible to this point. And then later that year, still 1849, he wrote this work for four horns.
So that's the big change, is that he has more options because you have more notes available to you, basically, right?
Exactly. Especially in the low register, you'll hear some very lovely chorale passages that use chromatic low notes and modulations that never would have been possible before.
So he's exploring all these colors and all these possibilities, but he's also using four people to do it. So do each of you have taxing work to do at the same time? Does it feel like a concerto?
It does. Each part is very virtuosic. The first part especially so, and we're very lucky to have our principal horn, Peter Erb, who has been willing and able to take on such an insane part. But all of the parts weave together in very just upbeat passages.
And I do want to emphasize, you mentioned Peter Erb. All four featured soloists here are members of the horn section of the New Mexico Philharmonic. Can you remind us who else then alongside you and Peter Erb?
Yes. So myself, Maria Long, third horn and associate principal horn, and Andrew Myers, fourth horn.
Now, usually if you're performing something like a concerto, you have the option of only playing that one very taxing piece, and that's all you have to do. But you guys are the entire horn section. So what happens during the Beethoven pieces that bookend the concert?
So our associate principal and fourth horn will be taking over the Carolian Overture, and Peter and myself will be handling the symphony.
I would love to talk a little bit about the symphony, actually. That Beethoven Symphony No. 4, Schumann had some opinions about this piece.
He actually loved the Fourth Symphony. The Fourth Symphony, I think, is one of the least performed of Beethoven's symphonies. And I think that's just a really unfortunate oversight of orchestras. It's no less sophisticated than his other works, but it just has the misfortune of being sandwiched between the Third Symphony, the Eroica, and then, of course, the Great Fifth Symphony. Schumann described this in one of his books as, quote, a slender Greek maiden between two Norse giants.
And that makes sense. It's this delicate piece that, yeah, you're right, we overlook sometimes.
It's smaller in proportions than the other two, smaller instrumentation, shorter duration, but again, no less sophisticated.
So the concert begins, as you mentioned, with Beethoven's Coriolan Overture. It ends with Symphony 4, but in the middle, we have this chance to hear a rarely heard gem from Robert Schumann, his Concertstück for four horns and orchestra, on Sunday, January 11th at 2 p.m., at the National Hispanic Cultural Center. Tickets and information are at nmphil.org. Allison Tutton, thanks so much for coming in to talk about it today.
Thank you for having me.